Hello everyone, my name is Arun and welcome to my channel. This series is a tutorials on C programming, and in this tutorial we'll be looking at the for loops that are available in C programming, and to explain that we'll be writing a program to calculate the factorial of a number. Now, for loops are very similar to the while loop, okay, with a small difference. In while loop, you run an operation repeatedly based on the validity of a condition. You check whether a condition is true, and if it is true, you run the operation again and again and again till the condition becomes false. Whereas in a for loop, what you do is you do the same thing, except that with another one more addition. When you run the loop, you also have a what you call as an iterating variable, and that iterating variable gets incremented or decremented depending on the condition. Okay, and that iterating variable plays a role in determining the it may or may not play a role in determining what kind of how the instruction will modify accordingly. This may look too abstract and complex to hear. Okay, once we write the program, this will be crystal clear. Okay, so let's start with it. First, let me include the stdio.h header file, and now let me put the main function. Now what I'm going to do is that a big tab? Yeah. Return 0. Now let's ask for user input. Not user input. Let's define a few variables. I need number. I need an iterating variable called as I, and a number fact, which is predefined with the value 1, which is going to calculate the factorial of the given number. Now let's ask for user input. So let's call it a printf statement and get the number. So enter the number. Okay, enter a number. That'll do. Let's put a colon and a semicolon over here, and let's use scanf, and since this is an integer, %I will do, and let me pass the address. There we go. Perfect. Now here comes the here comes the interesting part. For loop syntax is like this. So I'll put the syntax over here. Before we write the program over here, I'll put the syntax. So you put for init. What you do is init iterating variable, init start condition increment or decrement, and then within brackets you write a set of conditions, set of operations to execute if condition is true. Okay, so this is how the syntax for for loop looks like. You start with some an iterating variable is set up, put a starting variable value to it, and you check for a condition. Okay, and then what you do is you just increment or decrement the loop, increment or decrement the iterating variable, and you proceed further. So let's write this in a form. Let's write this in specifically. So I'm going to use I as my iterating variable, and I put this to start this with 1. Okay, and I say I is less than number, and I put a semicolon. Be careful, this is a semicolon, so do pay attention to that. And then I put I plus plus. This I plus plus is this plus plus operator means, okay, it's an incremental operator. Instead of writing I equals I plus 1 or I plus equals 1, I can write this as well. This is actually called as the post increment operator. What this will do is, after this particular iteration is over, it'll increase the value of I by 1 unit. That's what it does. Okay, and let's calculate the factorial statement. Factorial is the factorial variable. Fact is actually given by star equals I plus 1. and that will do. Since there is only one statement inside the for loop, we don't need the brackets, but if there are like multiple statements, we need to enclose them using the curly brackets. And now let's print the statement. Print this up. Okay, we say the value of %d exclamation equals %d and a \n, and then we write num, and then we write fact. Fair enough. And now let's run this program to see how it is working. Okay, hold on. Yeah, perfect. Let's say 5. There we go. The number 5 factorial is 120. And now if I run this with let's say 10, ooh, it worked fine. Now let me run with 1, perfect. Let me run with 2, perfect. Let's put a kicker, 0. Will it work? Yes. We'll just say the value of 0 factorial is 1, and if I put something like a -1, it just says value of -1 factorial is 1. But we know for sure that negative numbers don't have a factorial, so you just have to put some conditions to ignore this stuff. But anyway, you get the point. Now let me explain what's happening over here. So what will happen is that once we enter the number over here and the scanf takes the number inside the program, this is what will happen. This for loop will start. In the first step, it will initialize the variable I. Okay, I will be set to 1. Okay, and after as and when I is set to 1, it will check if that initialization, okay, is less than the number. Okay, less than the number. Since in the number we gave over here is, let's say start with 5. That will be easy. And the number is 5. Okay, so if I initialize I to 1, okay, and then we'll check if I is less than number. Since I is 1, number is 5, this obviously this condition is holding good, and now this condition is satisfied. So what will happen is that the program that value of I will go inside this loop. Okay, go inside this loop, and wherever I is present, I will be replaced by 1. Okay, so fact gets multiplied by I plus 1, so it gets multiplied by 2. Okay, so initially value of fact is 1, now it becomes 2. And then what will happen is that all these statements are executed inside this for loop, and then it will come over here. Before checking the condition, the I value will be increased by 1 unit. Okay, 1 unit. And now and then I becomes 2. I gets this condition is checked whether I is less than number. So I is 2, so I is less than 5. Fair enough. And then it comes below, and now I becomes 2, so 2 plus 1 3. So the fact value, which was initially 2 after the previous iteration was 2. Now it gets multiplied by 3, so the fact becomes 3. And then all of these statements get executed, and then I gets incremented by one more value. I becomes 4, such a condition will be checked, and so on and so forth. This repeats so on and so forth till this condition is broken down. Whenever the moment this condition breaks, these part of the program will not be executed. This part of the loop will be terminated, and then you execute the remaining part of the program. So that is how a for loop works. You start with an initialization, okay, and then you go inside you start with an initialization. You check if the initialization is proper within the given condition. If that is true, you go inside and do all the operations that you require, and then the iterator variable comes out. It gets incremented by 1 unit. Okay, here as for this program, it gets incremented by 1 unit, and then it will check for the condition. The check condition is true. You go inside and all the execute statements get executed. Once that is done, it gets incremented by 1 more unit, and then check for the condition, execute, come out, increment, condition check, execute, so on and so forth till the condition is broken down because of this increment. And finally, when this condition is broken down, you come out of this loop, and in that process, what will happen is that the number the fact increases to the 5 and the given number's factorial. So that's about it. So this is how a simple this is actually a simple explanation for the for loop and a good example for the factorial of a given number. Okay, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. In the next tutorial we'll be talking about something much more interesting than this. Okay, till then, take care.